Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to Islamic Action TV, Guerrilla Minded Productions. I'm Bilal Ali Hill.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Mohammed Solomon. Welcome to Guerrilla Minded TV. Good to be here as usual.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sam Marciniak and you're watching Islamic Action TV.
Right, well, brothers, once again, we're here again. As you know, the YouTube channel is blowing up. Subscriptions, I don't know, it's down here somewhere. But this is
but wherever it is, hit that button.
Hit that button for subscribe. And so we're here today, getting grilled again. Yeah, tell your friends, tell your family, getting grilled again. Just see what we can share with the audience. Yeah, yeah. So
and thanks for all your emails and your support.
Oh yes, it's been fantastic.
From abroad, from overseas, and from the UK.
Right. So I believe there's some questions for us, brothers, that people would like to ask and find out about.
The floor is open.
The floor is open.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Gentlemen, what do you think it is that attracts young men and women to leave England and the safety of their homes and go and join ISIS, especially women that might be taking their children along with them into a war zone?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Si, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we've had this discussion before between the two of us about how does it fit with being a Muslim and joining these barbaric groups. And, you know, on the face of it, it doesn't. I mean, how could you take somebody to a group or take yourself to a group,
your loved ones, to
a group of people who behead, burn people alive, drown them, and do all these barbaric acts? I think what's an interesting angle on it, though, is the Bethnal Green school children, when they went.
Oh yeah, those three girls, yeah.
The three girls from Bethnal Green.
Yes.
They were interviewed by, I don't know if you saw it on the news recently, but there was a fake journalist who posed as a potential jihadist.
Oh wow.
Who linked up with one of the girls on social media and recorded the conversation. And there was a bit of back and two, and then one of the questions was played to this girl, the Bethnal Green girl. Is it true that the group that you're with is involved in all this barbaric acts, beheading and all that sort of thing? And she doesn't answer the question. What she says is, it's quite interesting, I thought. She said, you don't believe everything that you hear on television and propaganda put out there.
Right.
Which seemed to me not an answer from a teenager.
From a teenager, yeah. She's been
scripted, primed, yeah.
So you get this impression that when they get there, the potential recruiters, the frontline recruiters, are quite well organised, quite well trained.
The Islamophiles.
Yes. So the frontline, the social media, they've actually. So if you're a teenager getting this response, you perhaps think to yourself, okay, well maybe they're not. The ISIS are not actually this group that are involved in all these beheadings. Maybe it's some sort of part of this global conspiracy.
Yes.
And that when I go, what I'm actually joining is this pure Islamic noble group that is not involved in all this. So although there's not been a denial that they do that, they all don't believe what you read on television.
Right.
Or read in the papers.
Or online,
So it's a very subtle and a very useful recruiting tool to get people to actually motivated to go, even though they've been brought up in a traditional Muslim household.
Yes.
Their sort of vulnerability, their naivety, is preyed upon to attract them to go out there. So yeah, I think that, of course there are these nut jobs like Jihadi John, who's been on the radar of
what is with that though? Like all these dudes or people who go out there, they've been on the security services watch list for years. They're known, and yet they seem to slip through the net. And
or do they? Is there a net? Have they slipped through? That's the question.
So I think my point is that you have these nut jobs.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a very grey area of these people are actually genuinely roped in innocently, thinking, well, maybe they're not as bad as portrayed. And actually, I'm joining some.
They could be the majority. They could be the majority.
Yeah. For all we know. I mean, at the end of the day, the Bethnal Green girls aren't going to be the frontline fighting. They're going to be the sort of house slave. The washing up for the jihadi fight to any show. She's not going to see any of that. What happens on the front line? So as far as she knows,
so she's probably genuinely speaking from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she'll be shielded from that, but she'll be the sort of the good girl recruiting the other good girls from.
But then again, the question about that is like, what would make a grown woman from maybe late 20s to early 30s take her child, take a child, an innocent child under the age of 5, into
a designated war zone.
It's designated, irrespective of maybe you believe that this is not happening or not. It's still a designated war zone. It's like, what aspect in that maternal nurturing that goes on within a mother towards a child, what part of that is, where's the disconnect in that? Where is the disconnect? Why would you dispense with that for some utopian ideal of a greater society? Even given the fact that you're in a society that kind of, I say not be told, it's not the right word, but it's quite lenient towards Muslims. It's quite, we're not like France, for example, or in other countries where even in Muslim countries you can't practice your religion. You're free to practice your religion in a way. You've come here and you are benefiting from some of the good stuff that this country has to offer.
The fruits of
Babylon. So what makes you turn your back on that? What is it within a mother that makes her not do that? I mean, Bilal maybe can comment on this as a psychotherapist.
No, I mean, just briefly, what I think about is a cognitive dissonance. You said there's a kind of denial because the two can't reconcile in the same person. So they have to tell themselves either by suppressing it or repressing it that they're not these people. Do you know what I mean? Because they can't, the human being, the mother, that instinct is alive. So to take their child to a war zone is very difficult. So the only way that would work out is by saying it's not a war zone. It's a conspiracy. It's a lie. It's safe.
But then lying to your husbands, because allegedly none of the husbands are aware.
Stuck for all day.
So this is planning. This is not like let's do it overnight.
And
you plan to go to maybe Saudi Arabia or say, I'm going Hajj. So you do all the trappings of going to Hajj.
So you're talking about groomers, but again, you're talking about groomers then.
Yes.
That's what it would say. So
somebody was grooming these mothers.
I would make that purely guesstimation, but that's what I would infer. I mean, for a woman to be moved to that level, to deceive their own husband and take the husband's children, I believe that some other entities involved encouraging that, inspiring. That's how I'd read it.
And I think in that case, we are talking about older people, more mature, but there is going to be peer pressure, because I know if you read some of the stories, they have got brothers and sisters already out there.
Yeah, there's always a sibling.
So you have that sort of family pressure coming from people saying, well, you should be joining me here, you should be coming over. So you get this encouragement maybe from other people back home saying, well, maybe you should think about going, or so there is that family dynamic going on, which I think pushes people to do that, even though without that sort of looking at it purely objectively, they probably wouldn't in a million years.
Right,
That's deep. But only because of time, we're going to try and this is a subject in and of itself.
That's
but
a fantastic
just to
question,
get in some more questions, we're going to keep chopping it up.
Okay, thank you. Why is it necessary for women to wear a head covering?
Interesting question.
You've got your being the boss of that, Mr. Southern man.
Slightly unorthodox.
I haven't actually got the Quran on me at the moment. But from my humble readings of the Quran and from my understandings in the actual verse in the Quran, I believe it's in the chapter, it could be chapter on women in the Quran, chapter 4. Nisa, the first 4, I'm not sure exactly where, but it does mention that Allah does say in the Quran, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, the name of Allah most merciful, He does say, to say to the woman, the believing woman, the Muslim woman, that when they go out of their homes and they're going through the marketplace, that the women are to draw their cloaks over them, or their, what is called the hijab, not hijab actually, it's called khimar. Yes, it says draw your khimar. Now, back in those times, if we go back like almost biblical times, most women had a head covering. They would have a cloak, like what Arabs tend to wear today. So they would cover themselves in this way. They would wear a cloak. But the actual word in the Quran, khimar in Arabic, doesn't denote a head scarf as such. It can be anything that means a covering. So the actual verse is saying, if the women who now consider themselves believers, and they now want to walk through the marketplace and not be molested by people who were at that time were very much against Islam, they wanted to attack the Prophet in any way, whatever covering they have on, right, it could be a scarf or it could be a coat, cover yourself in a way so that it kind of protects you, so you're not drawing the attention to yourself that maybe some of the other women. So you can distinguish yourself in a particular way. Now it's interesting because the word actually is daraba in Arabic, and the word daraba means to hit something. Like it says, make your clothing hit what in the actual Quran. What is apparent? Yeah, because some parts of Arabia, the woman used to walk around bare-breasted. In parts of Arabia,
but had the head covered.
But they would have the hair covered, yeah. But it would be bare-breasted, yeah. So the verse actually, instead of saying cover your head, which is ras for head, and shar is hair, it doesn't say cover your head and your hair. It says cover that which is being revealed. But if I won't say breast as such, but if you know Arabic, it means your kind of beautification, that which attracts, which will bring about that attraction. Cover that up, because this way you make it easier for you to go about your business. So that's what the emphasis is on. Now, but because in Arab culture, certain things are synonymous. So khimar or covering can be a head covering, it can be a scarf, it can be a cloak. So because you have these differences of interpretation of clothing, some people will say, oh, it means cover the head. And it means cover. Some even say the veil, like cover the face, the whole face.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Again, not in the Quran, right? And we know there's another verse in the Quran that says, your face is allowed to be showed. So this knocks away the veil argument. In your hands and your feet. There's another verse that adds a bit more clarity to that particular verse. So basically, it's dressing modestly. It's dressing conservatively. It's understanding that there's a power in attraction.
Yeah.
Right? And
clothing can be provocative.
Can be provocative, yeah. Now we know there was this discussion about Lizzie. Is it what's her name? Something Hine?
Who's that? I'm not familiar.
Oh, there's a lady from the group called the Pretenders.
Chrissy Hind.
Chrissy Hind, and she's in controversy because she says that a lot of women. Now this is her discussion, not mine, viewers. Her argument is a lot of women have had negative attraction, or well, let's say they've been attacked or assaulted. She believes that their dress has led to that in certain circumstances. That is her argument, that the dress itself, they got responsibility for the dress. Now obviously, clearly, lots of people have come out against the feminists. And
what type of dress are you talking about? Provocative dress?
Yeah, she said that they're responsible. She said all these videos of women have been naked, this promotion of what's it called again? Not pornographic, but what's licentiousness from all these artists like Nicki Minaj and Rihanna, Beyonce, all this type of stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, Hannah Montana. This, the young girls are copying this, and then they're getting attacked, and there's a rising level of attack on this woman. So she said, well, look, I believe women are responsible for that. I think that they're responsible to some degree for what's going on. Not to be raped or whatever, but they're playing a part, and she obviously is coming against her. So obviously this verse in the Quran is saying prevention is better than cure. Right? And we also have to remember men have a covering as well. Men have to cover themselves equally as well. Not in the sense of...
And the male hijab is lower his gaze.
You lower your gaze when you see the woman doing this, and you have to cover yourself from your abdomen down to here.
Past your knee. Minimum
for a man. So there is a covering for the man and a covering for the woman. But this verse has been misinterpreted and misunderstood by Muslims themselves and by culture, because a lot of the time what you find is that it's culture that they interpret into the teachings are not actually what the Quran and the Arabic is saying, not the actual divine text. It's actually cultural interpretation. So myself as someone who's learning Arabic and beginning to look into the Arabic grammar, I've done my own research, and we can clearly see from that research there's nothing indicating hair or anything of that type. It would not be intelligent for a woman to be continually covering her head, because there's situations where it's not appropriate. And now we've got to a ridiculous point now where because women are told cover your head, Muslim women walk around now with everything like on display almost, and they cover their hair, which is completely defeats the process. And like I'm saying, me personally, we know in this society, if we look at this society, this unfortunately, it's a breast fixated society. The number one plastic surgery is breast augmentation. So clearly, people are focusing. The Quran actually says cover the ornaments. But now it's reversed now, so people are, cover my hair. But the point is, the whole sexual industry in this Western society is based around the woman's, necessarily her body. It's about her body, selling her body, and using it as a product.
Essentially, there's a variety of opinions, the subtleties of what should be covered, how it should be covered.
Yeah.
But if we could just summarize for time, that the Quran and the message of Islam is essentially saying that women should observe, outside of the home, women should observe a kind of a modesty of sorts. A modesty of sorts.
Modest dress.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, for a lot of non-Muslims, there's a belief or impression that Islam is oppressive towards women because of things such as honour killings, arranged marriages, FGM, and things like that. What's your view?
I would have to. Is it okay if I jump
Yes,
in? Because that one
yeah,
kind of push my button a little bit. I think that's a brilliant question because it is not necessarily about reality; it's about perception. I think that it's Denzel Washington in that film Training Day when he says it's not about what you know; it's about what you can prove. Yeah. So the reality is, according to the Quran, according to the Sunnah, the method of the Prophet, the example of the Prophet, is that things like FGM and honor killings are just and forced marriages are totally, they have no ground. This is going to sound like a cliche, but they just have no clear ground in Islam. But BBC One and Fox News and crazy Muslim culture does appear to give some type of legitimacy to that. But clearly, there is no honor in killing somebody. The Quran clearly says that if you take an innocent life, that like you've killed the whole world. If you save a person, it's like if you save a soul, it's like you've saved the whole humanity. So life is valuable, so precious. So we have to do a whole series and get into the psychology of a father or a clan or brothers that would feel if my sister, for example, marries somebody that's out of my ethnic group, and we disapprove of this individual, that we would prefer to burn her alive or to kill her. We don't see no examples of that in Islam. Same with FGM. That is just.
You don't do this in Islam, no?
Well, this is culture. We don't believe in FGM. There's no text in the Quran or no.
This is Quranic.
This pre-Islamic practice, and again, it leads toward what we believe as misogyny. And so the honor killing and the forced marriage. Well, male or female can be forced into marriage, pressured into marriage. Arranged marriages may be quite a good thing, can be helpful, but forced, it would make the marriage invalid. So just for a matter of time, just for a time factor, I think I'll leave.
But I think the perception of women is completely false. It's completely wrong, and unfortunately, the culture is what people are viewing and not the actual way of life. Islam is not a religion; it's a spiritual system. It's a way of life that is intrinsic to how nature operates. So we see this balance. Allah mentioned in the Quran, he goes, the sun and the moon are like male and female. They work together. Yeah? So I believe it's the moon is female, right? And the sun,
the sun is male.
Sun is male. So Allah says in the Quran that they both work together. The sun works with the moon, So we have in Islam there's this balance. This goes back to the map principle. If you go into Egypt and you see what the Egyptians had, they had this balance between the male and the female. If you see the ankh, the Egyptian key, the key of life, you have the circle at the top, which represents the female. Then you have beneath you have the cross, which represents the male. So this is a combination of the male and the female together. So in Islam, Allah goes that the woman is a covering for the man, and the man is a covering for the woman. So in reality, Islam brings about perfect harmony and peace and synchronicity between the male and the female. So a feminist should have no problem with Al-Islam, because Islam gives her full rights, not because the man says it, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it.
Just to pick up on what you were saying, Dalan, about FGM, of course the thing about things like honour killing, FGM, that it is a very tribal, without naming names or picking on particular countries, FGM is centred, Yemen, Somalia, these sorts of areas. If it was an Islamic practice, it'd be across the Islamic
globe. Good point.
Excellent point. You'd be finding these
point.
You don't find things like
Iraq or Turkey.
Or Nigeria.
So that's enough to tell you what we are doing is this sort of
culture,
very tribal, very sort of antiquated practice, which is totally separate from what we might call it an Islamic practice. The principle, as you said, is there's no compulsion.
Well, look, so to cut you, we could jump in again, but again today on the news in Bangladesh. The court has passed a law saying that 2 women had to be gang raped by the men in the village because the sisters of an individual, he eloped with a married woman. He ran off with a married woman, and because the family believed that the sisters knew and planned it, they now say that they're going to be a public gang rape by the family of the men to these 2 sisters. So now it's all over the world. There's an outcry against it. Now, because they're Bengali and because it's the so-called Muslim, they say no, this is an Islamic practice or this is Islamic law. You know, eye for it's completely nothing to do with Islam.
Madness.
It's sanity.
Last question. How is muta in any way beneficial to females? What kind of safety net does it offer for them?
Okay.
What's muta? Let's explain that
You want to take the muta? Okay, right.
first. Or siga, as it's known in
Siga, is it known in Iran? Right, okay. Right, so this is a very important question.
It's a crucial question.
It's a crucial question.
It's a 21st century
and
question.
unfortunately, we've got the time to answer it. Maybe for next week we should answer it. But no, we try to do it quickly because we haven't got a lot of time. But generally in Islam, women are entitled to fundamental human rights. So every woman on the planet is entitled to food, warmth, clothing and shelter, and the right to be married, which means that woman is entitled to the right to life. So in Islamic society, the emphasis is on protecting the woman. The woman is at the backbone of the society. So because the woman is so protected in Islamic society, she has the right to a marriage. Now, there are times when, this is where polygamy comes about, because polygamy realizes that if you think about nature, a woman has 2 eggs, to produce a child, and a man has, 2 eggs and a man has a sperm, right? So that's 2 X chromosomes. The woman has 2 X's and the man has X and Y. So nature is geared towards the female. There always has to be more women,
chance of
a female being born because of the fact that it's 3-to-1. Every male child is 3-to-1. All embryos are female. That's why men have got embryos. Because we all start out female, they need to go male or female, right? So this means that you need to have more women than men in society. Now, this is just the way it is. There are always more women than there is men. Because if there was 100 women on the planet and 1 man, then the human race could survive. But if there was 100 men and 1 woman on the planet, that would be a serious situation for that sister.
Mankind is not.
She could only have a child every 9 months, whatever, with those 100 men, and they all want whatever. So there has to be more female than men. There are more females than males. Now, what happens is obviously there's certain situations that happen. If say there was equal amount of men and women, and you have situations where, for example, let's talk about this society now. You got a lot of single mothers now in this society, yeah. You got a lot of women who are so-called baby mothers. So one dude might have like 4 or 5 different women, right? He's got different children for them, but he's not giving them no maintenance, no support for them, nothing. Just giving them this type of thing, right? Now, the reason why we say a lot of the, particularly black males, the way they act, because there's no male role model for the black male. Many times there's no black male role model for them.
In the house.
And they did a report last year where they showed a certain society in England, it was a part of England, isn't it? Where there was no men at all. The school teachers were female.
I remember that.
There was no males. There was no males at all, right? So what you find is that if you have a preponderance of females and there is no, maybe no chance of them, if it was all to be just 1 man, 1 woman, that surplus of women, which we have got, because usually it's about 6 women to 1 man in society, generally something in that region, you have 5 roughly. There's always more females. Not every female would get a male. So the point is, the mutter is there in certain situations as a protection to make sure that if there is a relationship, the child is born in a legitimate, recognized. It's not illegitimate. It's recognized by the male, and that depending on the
what's the contract?
On the contract is a contract between the male and the female. Also, as well, it depends on how the couple see the marriage, because they could define the marriage or the relationship how they see it. But in Islam, for you to have sexual relations, you have to be married.
And it's all consensual, of course.
Yes, it's all consensual.
When you ask, how is it beneficial to a woman? Well, a woman can make a mutter as beneficial as she wants.
As she wants to. You can have mutter, there's no sex in it.
She can attach conditions.
Yeah, she's got so much power in it.
So ultimately, in the mutter, the woman is empowered.
Yes.
And mutter is just for those who are not familiar. Mutter is, there's 2 types of marriages in Islam. There is what is known as a permanent marriage,
non-specified time,
and then there is a fixed term
but
marriage.
They're equal in status.
Yes,
indeed. But they even figured out. But now society is following the mutter, because now they're going to introduce 10-year marriages licenses. That's what they're discussing. But anyway,
man, this time
has gone so quick. The questions were fantastic.
Questions were fire. I think that we're going to have to do the next. We're going to have to bring a podcast vlog about polygamy and mutter in and of itself. But it's been fun. So We hope to see you next time. Thanks for staying with us for the duration. And remember, stay safe.
Subscribe.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.